Hello, I'm Doug McConnell, and we've got some great discoveries for you out here along the open road.
We'll discover the last stand of privately owned old-growth redwoods in the Santa Cruz Mountains, soon to be saved and stewarded by two organizations with rich and lasting legacies here, conserving nature and creating inspirational outdoor experiences for many generations. We'll uncover a wild kingdom on the mend in these magnificent mountains. We'll all be able to explore sometime soon. And we'll find forests in San Mateo County Parks becoming healthier and more resilient to fears of fire. In the rugged ravines of the Santa Cruz Mountains, a grove of old-growth redwoods survived the logging era and has lived on to inspire generations of kids and families.
There's more to life and more to the world than just your daily routine. That there is a huge opportunity out there to think and live and breathe, and nature brings that to you and brings that out.
A new partnership has been forged between legacy organizations to protect the grove in perpetuity and give an historic camp a new lease on life.
So we have an opportunity to not only help kind of restore resiliency and balance in the natural environment, but to promote environmental education to young people across the Bay Area.
Not far from the mountain town of La Honda in San Mateo County sit ecologically significant forests that recall ancient eras. A critically important redwood grove in the historic YMCA Jones Gulch Camp will soon be protected by the YMCA in collaboration with the Sempervirens Fund, so nature and campers will always be able to thrive there.
Of this grove of immense redwood trees, many hundreds of years old, has been, until now, the last stand of old-growth redwoods in the Santa Cruz Mountains. But fortunately, that's about to change. Permanent protection is on its way, and so is inspiration and joy for generations of people who will come to this very spot far into the future.
I really see Sempervirens Fund as the guardians of the redwood forests and natural areas throughout the whole Santa Cruz Mountains.
Laura McClendon is Director of Land Conservation for Sempervirens Fund, a nonprofit organization that's been preserving redwood forests in the Santa Cruz Mountains for over 120 years, saving the last remaining stands of old-growth trees and securing them for the future.
Tell me about this place that we're in and why this place is so special.
Oh my gosh, Doug. This old-growth grove that we're in is one of the largest remaining unprotected old-growth redwood groves in the entire Santa Cruz Mountains. Most of our old-growth redwoods were lost to logging over a century ago, and for some reason, this 39 acres was spared.
These ancient giants are a wonder to witness and will be an important piece of a large and diverse mosaic of protected lands, connecting ecological jewels from the summit of the mountains all the way to the sea.
Here at Camp Jones Gulch, we have a 39-acre grove, which again, doesn't sound like a lot, but it is an enormous asset to the health of the redwoods across this region. When we add this to the protected areas, it creates a contiguous swath of tens of thousands of acres of land where you can have wildlife roaming freely across these landscapes, and not only be able to do that now, but be assured that wildlife can move throughout the region for generations to come.
Wildlife has long flourished here, and for 80 years, so have generations of young people and their families at the YMCA's Jones Gulch Camp.
San Mateo County and the Y Camp Jones Gulch partnered together to bring fifth graders and sixth graders from the schools here for outdoor ed throughout the school year. They come up for the week and they participate in, you name it, all different activities from archery to hiking to canoeing to swimming. And in that, they become independent and they're able to be by themselves and think and get away from the daily grind. And the community that develops and is created is just magical at a summer camp.
Carrie Herrera is the camp's executive director. For Carrie, making nature accessible is a labor of love, and her passion for this place started long ago.
One of our great assets is that we have been here for many years, and lots of generations have already been able to experience camp. So, for instance, I was able to come as a child. Now my children are coming as a child for our San Mateo County's outdoor education program.
We have been since the 1800s in parks. So it is a fundamental belief by the Y that children have the right to access nature. And we know that right's in question every single day through climate change. Every road we lay, every brick we lay down takes that right away from those who need it the most.
Jamie Bruning-Miles is the San Francisco YMCA's president and chief executive officer. He knows well the powerful and healing effects of nature.
What do you see them experiencing? What are they feeling? What's going on in these redwoods?
I would think compassion. We have removed that away from our cities, the ability to connect the living, breathing things, trees, plants, animals, allows compassion to come back. And I think that's what I hope when they come out here is they actually get to connect to nature, connect to each other, and bring that compassion back that may be disconnected from the cities or where they live. That's what I hope they get away from it.
Sempervirens Fund, with philanthropic support from the public, will purchase from the YMCA what's called a conservation easement, permanently preserving these ancient trees and providing the Y with the financial resources necessary to give generations of campers to come access to the many lessons of care and compassion redwood forests have to offer.
Sempervirens and the YMCA of San Francisco have forged a very unique partnership and a very advantageous one that complements our missions very much. On the one hand, you have the YMCA, who's incredible at youth education and outreach, and then on the other hand, you have Sempervirens Fund, who we partner with other natural resource entities and can bring that expertise of resource protection, redwood protection across this whole property. So it's kind of this marriage of education and environmental protection that will be here for generations to come.
It's not just an easement, it's the relationship long-term we're creating between two organizations that care about the same thing, youth access to nature.
When we come back, see a wild kingdom on the mend, getting ready for us to visit. OpenRoad is made possible by the generous support of our underwriters, dedicated to protecting our natural and historical treasures in the Bay Area and beyond. Additional support is provided by these institutions, also caring for our special environmental and cultural legacies and making them accessible to each and every one of us, now and for all time. One of the most beautiful, ecologically rich, and diverse properties in all of the Santa Cruz Mountains is the nearly 9,000-acre San Vicente Redwoods near the coast above the community of Davenport. It contains the largest privately owned redwood forest in these magnificent mountains, features 8 creeks, and is home to a stunning array of wildlife, including endangered marbled murrelets and coho salmon, and threatened California red-legged frogs. San Vicente Redwoods is owned, carefully stewarded, and being restored by 4 conservation partners, including Sempervirens Fund.
And I have with me the Land Stewardship Manager for the Sempervirens Fund, Ian Robotham. Ian, you've been working quite a while in San Vicente Redwoods, and you've been doing some big things in the past year, including removing a dam. Why did you do that, and what's the result been?
So there was a dam on Lower Mill Creek, which is part of the San Vicente Creek watershed. The dam was about 120 or so years old and was obsolete and blocking fish passage for both steelhead and endangered coho salmon to be able to move upstream. So the goal of the project was to remove the dam to be able to open access and help provide better spawning habitat.
And so far you're beginning to see at least some positive, hopeful signs, huh?
Yeah, definitely. So with some of these early storms, we've seen both fish passage opening up. We've actually spotted some fish above the dam, which would be the first migration up there in over a century, as well as a lot of the sediment trap behind the dam starting to move downstream. And even in just these first 2 months, we've seen changes and benefits that we really expected over 3 to 5 or more years.
And hopefully we'll see coho coming back year after year after year in the years ahead. Mm-hmm. Now in 2020, big fires, of course, swept the Santa Cruz Mountains, including San Vicente Redwoods, but you're in the process of forest restoration. What are you up to?
So one of the big projects we've done post-fire is we recently planted roughly 20,000 trees, primarily redwood, with some Douglas fir seedlings mixed in. And the goal of that was not only to reinvigorate areas post-fire, but also to sort of shift the trajectory of some of these areas, and that they'd been heavily impacted by past clear cutting, as well as the recent fires. So it's a way to kind of re-envision and shift things moving forward.
And to try to have a resilient forest for the future. And in all of this work, the Amamutsan people, this is their historic traditional land. They are working with you. And what are they doing exactly, and how are you benefiting?
We've been able to partner with the Amamutsan Tribal Band and the Amamutsan Land Trust across a huge suite of projects at the property, from the dam removal on up to some of the cultural resource surveys that were part of the tree plantings. It's been an opportunity for them to be able to reconnect and steward these lands, and also an opportunity for us to be able to learn from them in the work that we do. And
it's a very positive partnership. And in addition to all of this, in 2022, new trails are being built. Towards the end of 2022, we'll be able to come and see this place for ourselves. What's the great hope for that?
We're hoping to open trails in late 2022, and it'll be a great opportunity for folks to get to see the land that we've come to know and love across our years of doing stewardship.
And I've got to say, I've been there in past years. I can hardly wait for this to happen. It is a beautiful place. It's a diverse place. And Ian, I'm so glad you're working out there. You and the Amamutsan and your partners, keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. Can't wait to have you.
I'll see you out there.
When we come back, mimicking fire to make forests in San Mateo County more ecologically healthy and less vulnerable to catastrophic burns. Fire has always been part of California's landscape, but climate change and more than a century of suppressing all wildland fires immediately and unnaturally has made threats of catastrophic wildfires today greater than ever before, and the work of public land managers to make their forests ecologically healthier and more resilient to fire ever more urgent.
Active management, active stewardship is going to have to be an ongoing thing as long as we're managing wild systems.
Effectively managing our cherished parks and wildland ecosystems will require long-term vision, boots on the ground, and unflagging support from all of us.
Now, this lovely spot is called The Meadows in Wunderlich Park, part of the San Mateo County Park system near Woodside. And the Meadows is surrounded by a beautiful forest, but to keep this forest environmentally healthy and more resilient to fire requires a lot of effort, expertise, diligence, and determination to enhance our commitments in the years ahead as the climate changes and risks of fire grow right here in the Bay Area. Thankfully, San Mateo County Parks and its partners are rallying to meet the moment and to stay the course.
Today, we'll see examples of efforts to increase fire resiliency in two San Mateo County parks near the town of Woodside, Wunderlich County Park and Huddart Park, where we'll begin our journey.
Our big goal here is really to take a more active role in stewarding these parklands and these landscapes.
Hannah Hormshaw is Assistant Parks Director for San Mateo County Parks and leads its fire resiliency program.
The goal for this project really was to install a shaded fuel break throughout this portion of the park, with the goal of reducing understory vegetation density, removing some of the small diameter trees, and really reducing some of the dense fuel loads.
Completed in 2019, the work here mimicked California's natural history when low-intensity fires burned regularly in places like this. But Huddart hadn't burned in nearly 100 years, so thickly overgrown vegetation was thinned mechanically on the forest floor, reducing risks that flames could race through, climb into canopies of surrounding trees, and swiftly spread far and fast.
Now this is, 2.5, 3 years ago, and it is nice and open here at this point. And what are these plants that are popping up?
Yeah, so what we can see growing back are some toyon, some manzanita. We're getting some other native forb species like houndstooth and irises growing back.
Fire-adapted native vegetation is successfully taking root, much as it would had fire removed the overgrown vegetation. It's an ancient natural process that results in healthier and more resilient forest environments in California, a process we've suppressed for far too long.
Everything in California has developed with disturbance, and for the last 100 years we've been largely excluding that disturbance from the system. Our job with this forest health project is to try to re-implement disturbance back into the system.
David Kalman is a resource manager for the San Mateo County Resource Conservation District, an organization that connects landowners, such as San Mateo County Parks, with resources they need to improve the health of ecosystems and ensure the safety of communities nearby.
So between Huddart and Wunderlich County Park, we're doing a 402.1 acre forest health project. We're using mechanical mastication to re-implement disturbance into this system that has been absent of disturbance for the last 100 years or so. There's not enough people in the area or land managers in the area to get the work done on the pace and scale that it needs to. So you need this sort of collaborative effort to get work done.
An essential partner in this fire and forest resilience collaboration is CAL FIRE, whose crews oversee the necessary landscape disturbances.
The beauty about this project is this is about as close as we could get to a fire to create disturbance without having a large catastrophic fire come out here and destroy it.
Rich Sampson is a forester and division chief with CAL FIRE and has seen the effects of climate change firsthand.
Climate change is here, whether you believe it or not. Different environment, the weather's changed, the fuels are drying out, we're not getting the fuel moisture, we're going to have, the vegetation is going to be less healthy, and less healthy vegetation burns quicker and easier.
At Wunderlich County Park, we see a newly treated site, freshly cut and looking raw.
So this area was treated about a week ago. We had our crews come through with a couple pieces of heavy equipment and then come through again with a chipper.
This process of creating a shaded fuel break requires mechanical cutting and chipping to clear the dense understory. It can be shocking at first glance, but it's very strategic and carefully controlled. And soon this land will surge back to life, as we saw at Huddart Park.
It's easy to come to a project like this and kind of envision that it's just a bunch of machines going through the forest, but there's a ton of forethought that goes into these projects. There's a ton of oversight. Botanists, foresters, other resource professionals, archaeologists. A lot of people collaborate to get a project like this done on the ground.
Down the trail a little bit further, we come to a gorgeous grove of madrones, now with an open understory.
So Hannah, we're still in Wunderlich Park and it's getting a little warmer here. But this is beautiful. You've done some work over here, and talk about what we're looking at.
Yeah, so I think one thing that's really important to be able to see in this project is how we're intentional about what we're working on and what we're leaving in place.
In areas dominated by invasive and highly flammable species like eucalyptus, more extreme clearing is done to make room for native species to reestablish themselves.
This is a project where we had a grove of eucalyptus, an older grove of eucalyptus trees.
A pretty good sized grove.
It was about a 20-acre grove, and PG&E was doing a mitigation project for some of the work they did, and they funded a removal of 16 acres of it.
Removing eucalyptus, native to Australia, greatly reduces risks of catastrophic wildfires and allows a more fire-resistant palette of plants, such as these toyon, native to California, to emerge and thrive.
And so as soon as the trees were removed and the leaves stopped dropping, they came out of the dormancy that they were under, and now they've sprouted back up and they're reestablishing very healthily.
We need healthy forests here and across the state, and we'll all need to support investments such as these if we're going to minimize deadly wildland fires in the future and adapt successfully to a quickly changing climate. When we return, celebrate saving and stewarding forest land in the Santa Cruz Mountains. OpenRoad is made possible by the generous support of our underwriters, dedicated to protecting our natural and historical treasures in the Bay Area and beyond. Additional support is provided by these institutions, also caring for our special environmental and cultural legacies and making them accessible to each and every one of us, now and for all time. Over many years, I've had the pleasure to explore and get to know the wild beauty and ecological diversity of the Santa Cruz Mountains very well, thanks to the vision and tenacity of many private citizens, nonprofit organizations, and public agencies over more than a century. Tens of thousands of acres of nature's finest treasures and their native denizens have been saved here, are being astutely monitored and cared for, and in some places are being restored. This immense wild kingdom is almost miraculous to behold, so close to so many millions of us in one of the most dynamic urban regions on Earth. I urge you to join me out here to savor quiet moments of healing, hope, and joy in nature's warm embrace, and never take a minute of it for granted. And let's give our thanks to those who've given us these precious gifts and commit ourselves to following their lead and passing it on, even bigger and better than we found it. For more information about everything you've seen in this show, go to NBCBayArea.com/OpenRoad.
Well, that's our show. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm Doug McConnell, and we'll see you next time right here with more discoveries along the open road.